Hello again. So, apparently, Mr. Odali, that would be very happy to explain everything this to you, had a problem with his voice, and they said, well, why not send the developer again? Because apparently putting the developer to the sales is a very good idea. But the thing is, you already know I'm a developer, but most of you probably paid attention that besides that, I'm also Brazilian. And when the first time that I heard about this project, I simply fell in love. Like, for real. I've been developing in blockchain for some time already, and I saw several projects. I saw especially several NFTs and tokens that they're just empty value. There's nothing behind. It's not a real project. You know, that there's no meaning behind. And on the other hand, I grew up in Brazil with all this beautiful nature, and unfortunately, I saw like how the environment there was being harmed just because of human ambition and not being totally responsible with the consequences that would bring. And now I just had my mind blown because for some reason it looks like everything is connected, even things that I heard for the first time today here. For some minutes ago, we had a very, very interesting and motivating speech from Mr. Thomas, right? And he was talking about these people calling you on the phone and trying to sell stuff on the phone, and how bad they are. And you know why people are like exploring the environment and damaging the forest? Because of course, this is good for their pockets. And usually the economic power can speak louder than the environmental protection. Because on one hand, you have this very, very experienced businessman pushing this stuff forward, pushing these projects, putting the forest down to put land, and of course, they are better trained for that, they can sell more, so they get more support. And meanwhile, the people from the environment protection, they're probably worse than these people in the phone calling you every day. So, it's not a fair fight, right? So I want to convince you that you should invest in the environment protection. But the thing is, why would you take money from your pocket for something that apparently won't give you any sort of return? It doesn't make sense. Until now. So, the first time I saw the Tupan project, and after all this experience in my life and seeing that environment, this beautiful nature in Brazil, never had stand a chance with this big capital, I saw here an opportunity to fight back, because we're changing the game. At first, we would see the environmental question as a matter of costs for the business. Come on, most of you here are very experienced businessmen and women, you have your own business, so you know what I'm talking about. You don't have costs of something that won't give you any return. But what if it could give you some return? What if protecting the environment could actually be good for your pocket? And this is such an innovative initiative, and I wasn't expecting that such an initiative would come from crypto world, from the blockchain technology. So this is one of the amazing things that blockchain technology can bring to us. And this is what Zenik is about. Because as I told you before, I was developing Ethereum, I was developing Binance, but all the projects that I had as a reference, the projects I saw, they didn't have anything behind. It was just someone just trying to create an NFT out of nowhere and trying to get some money of this, but nothing special, not real projects, no passion behind. But then, with Tupan, you actually can bring people together, make them grow. At the same time, you're using this to protect the environment. And when I saw this, oh my God, this sounds so amazing. But the thing is, Zenik has as a main objective to be accessible for everyone, every single person. That's why we designed this hardware here. Remember, I showed you how the node is, how it's so complicated to bring people that are like non-technical fields coming to this and operate. So Zenik, in the hardware part, is doing this pretty well, making it simple. But of course, the other products that are coming into Zenik's ecosystem, they cannot be inconsistent with that. So what does it matter if I just have like the best hardware, the most intuitive that everyone can use, but you have no idea what's going on? Because of course, I would say I have a Tupan, and it's a product that's minting, and I could tell you all about the cryptographic and mathematical gibberish. I can say you have a hashing function, and then you use a nonce, and as you increase the randomization, that's why your network is more secure. But it won't make any sense of you. You won't see, okay, but what's the reason behind? What does it bring to me? So the idea was, since you're like interactive in nature, and maybe try to bring people a bit closer to understand the cause, like bring this, internalize this into our community. What if we could just take all this mathematical and cryptographical language and you translate this in something that's not only connected to nature, but is familiar to every single one of you. So, instead of telling you that in order to turn my minting process more secure, I use different nodes to interact with them to increase the entropy of the network. I can just say you that, your hub, it now has a pollen. Because you don't know what a nonce is, it's cryptographic stuff, but you know that the bees in the spring, they're flying around, they're carrying pollen from one place to the other, and when this pollen gets together, it's carrying the genetic material that will give birth to a seed. So, forget about cryptography, forget about mathematics. Let's talk about plants, let's talk about nature. So the first topic of this minting process is the pollination step, which means that you take it to hubs. Your hub, in the smart contract that now every single one of you is familiar with, you know what I'm talking about. This smart contract, it has special parameters, unique parameters, just like your DNA, just like plants' DNA. And when they connect for the first time to start this minting process, this DNA gets mixed in order to turn into a seed. But of course, we don't want to be limited to only 2 hubs, because talking about this cryptographic stuff, this mathematical stuff, increase the randomization to make it more secure. It makes sense to bring more hubs connected for this. Just a second. I have different screens here. It's not. Could you fix it? Thanks. Perfect. So what else? Yeah. So it makes sense to not limit this number of hubs for 2, because if we connect more, we are making our meeting process more efficient and more secure. So okay, we pollinated, we have a pollinated seed. What the seed needs in the next step? So, well, water? Makes sense, right? You have a pollinated seed, but since you're a baby, you're there, you try to plant a bean or wherever, and just start putting water and see if it starts growing. So this is another abstraction level. Instead of okay, now we increase the entropy of our meeting process, we're just saying we are irrigating this seed. So this original seed that has the genetic material, in other words, these unique parameters that every hub has individually. Now that they have it, they need more connections in order to make this plant grow. We have a seed, then you have a little sprout, then it grows into a bush, and at some point, it gets into a tree. So fine, and let's say that you're getting our plant irrigated, our seed irrigated, you have a sprout, it's growing, more hubs are connecting, making this more secure, more efficient, until the point that I have enough hubs to complete the meeting process. This is a cycle. So to close this cycle, I need to connect enough hubs, which is also interesting because if you think about this Amazon rainforest area, these communities, the indigenous tribes that live there, they have such a feeling of a group, over the individual thing. And so far, when you see any other blockchain process, usually it's a long, lonely process. You buy your equipment, your GPU, your ASIC chip, and you just need to buy it yourself and leave it there. It's only process. It's just you and yourself. You don't care about anyone. But would be also interesting if this process could reflect the philosophy that this native people there, they respect the nature, they lived in perfect harmony for so many centuries. It's interesting to create this concept of community meeting, because now you need other people inside the ecosystem. So you don't know him, he doesn't know her, but your hubs need to work together to make this seed grow. And that's the beauty of it, because now I'm also reflecting the nature. And when every single one of us is learning about this process, not in the complicated mathematical way, but in this intuitive way, you start to create a better connection, not only with the nature, but with the technology itself. You get more familiar with, and of course, you get more motivated to understand a bit more. So, when we have this irrigation complete, it makes sense that we have a complete tree and it's time to bloom, because that's when the cycle ends. Just like in the nature, the cycle of plant life, the cycle of your minting process should end up with the fruit, and in this case, will be your TCT or Tupan community tokens. So of course, we have some very special treatment for the parents, which means the original hubs that provided the genetic material. So they get like a double shares of the minted amount of tokens. And the other irrigation hubs that also helped to make this process more efficient, more secure, they also get the normal number of shares. Of course, when this process is complete, it means that the connection is done, it accomplished its purpose. And now it's time for your hub to search for new hubs and start a cycle over again. And of course, maybe your hub is just like irrigating this process of this seed, but in the next seed, it can be that he's the first one to connect to the other, which means that you become a pollinator. And then, for the first time, your hub will be the parent of a seed. We could just finish the minting process in this step, but here's the deal. As I told you in the beginning, the whole blockchain industry, the whole blockchain market is full of empty projects. Everyone's just like creating random NFTs and hoping to get some money out of it. But we have a beautiful story here. And this beautiful story is about nature. It's about the protection of the nature. It's about the future, of our sons and daughters, grandchildren. And this was reflected in a state-of-the-art mathematical and cryptographical procedure. So it makes sense to leave this legacy as printed history somewhere. And of course, since the blockchain is a huge history book, why not take this original seed that allowed us to perform the whole meeting process and create a new NFT out of this? But it's not any NFT. It's not just like some weird monkey drawing. No, this has a whole history behind it. It has real people that work together with a huge community gathering around a single seed. And this single seed was the first ever dynamic NFT in the Zenic blockchain. And with this, in the future, when this graphical interface is completed in the next stages, you'll be able to see how this tree originated, which characters it has, because of course, it has unique characters from the parents, and this will result in different leaves, color, size, type of fruit. This will be interesting. But best of all is the idea, and that you know that the process that generated this was a state-of-the-art, a masterpiece of mathematics and engineering. And of course, so much development talent invested on this. And of course, everything this results in a chance to fight back, because for the first time, we are using the protection of the environment as an investment, and we can fight like with the same power as the same ambition that was detonating the environment. So with the help of every single one of you, we can make a difference not only our pockets, but for the pockets and for the health of our children and their future generations. Thank you.